Before we do actually get started, I want to apologize for the quality of this video. I am filming because I have no choice through my laptop, and as you can see, the camera sucks. I have spent about a good hour just trying to get the lighting right, and this is as good as it gets. But I really wanted to upload this video, and I couldn't wait to get a camera or to get my phone fixed. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get into the video. If you're trying to get hired at Mac, not everybody's situation is going to be exactly the same. Even if you browse all the videos here on YouTube with people sharing their experiences, you'll notice that a lot of people's are different. There are some things that are pretty basic, but don't expect anything that you may experience to be um, completely the same as anybody else's. I am going to be extremely detailed in this video, just well as extremely detailed as I'm allowed to be, just so you guys can get a really good idea or look into my situation. Sometimes people make these videos and they sort of skip over the things that you really want to hear. So I've watched videos, and now that I've had my own experience, I kind of wanted to be as specific as I possibly can, and hopefully some of the things that weren't answered in anybody else's video, if you can make it through the quality of this video, hopefully this one will help you. So I'm going to start with a little bit about me and my journey as a makeup artist. I have always been into makeup. I had tried many times to be interested in other things, but I just lost interest. They were passions of mine, and they are still passions of mine, but I think that they were things that I didn't really see myself doing as a full-time career. So collectively, I don't want to say I wasted about 10 years, but over the span of 10 years, being from the point that I graduated high school up until even just a couple of weeks ago, I feel like I sort of wasted a lot of time doing other things. I don't look at it as a complete waste because I did spend a lot of that time finding myself, which is what made me as sure as I am today that being a makeup artist is exactly what I want to do. In 2012, the summer of 2012, I decided that being a makeup artist was exactly what I wanted to do. I had never really tried to do makeup freelance before. I had done here and there friends' makeup, and I always was interested in it. Always shopped at Mac and other makeup stores like that, but I never I never really tried making it a career. So I pretty much became heavily influenced by the YouTube beauty community. I was subscribed to a lot of really popular makeup artists and beauty bloggers on YouTube. And from that point, I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. And this would be the first attempt to become a full-time makeup artist. So for some reason, I was under the impression that I had to go to school for aesthetics in order to become a makeup artist. And present day, I did, and shortly after that as well, I did realize that it was not necessary at all, and I still wouldn't look at it as any time that I wasted or any sort of a waste at all, because in the long run it did teach me a lot of things that I didn't know and are gonna things that are gonna be very useful to me as a makeup artist. But in terms of, is it necessary? If all you want to do is be a freelance makeup artist on your own or working for some other makeup counters, you don't have to be a licensed esthetician. You don't need to go to school for it. Really, you don't need to go to school for even makeup. Some people will say that it's necessary, but it totally isn't necessary for you to go to school for it, because it's a trade. It's something that you could totally pick up on your own and be a completely established makeup artist with zero schooling. Next 5 or 6 months following that decision, I started to get into makeup as a freelance. So I had graduated from college. I went to, like I said, school for aesthetics. I haven't gotten my license still to this day, but from that point is when I really, um, when things really kicked into gear as a makeup artist for me. This was a small amount of time. I know 5 or 6 months may sound like a lot of time, but it wasn't. Throughout the span of those 5 or 6 months, I probably only had up to like 10 gigs, which wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough for me to put some money into my kit, as well as it was for me to get experience and get to and from the places where I would be working. I decided that doing that was not making enough money for me to support myself. So I took on two jobs and I stayed there at those two jobs semi unhappily for about a year. To May 20, so that would bring us to May 2014. This area I would call my Great Depression. I had been depressed before and just kind of in the slumps, if you will, but this was a significant area of nothingness. I was very static. I was just sitting in my sorrow, not really trying to get out of it, and it was very horrible, very, very horrible. So, at the tail end of August, maybe no, at the beginning of August, maybe even the tail end of July, I had decided, and with a heavy influence of some really great people and friends, I decided that I wanted to work for Mac. Now, in the past 3 years, when I had that slight interest in doing makeup and learning more about it, I did submit an application to the Mac counter, and I never heard back because I went in there just kind of on a whim with some friends. I had been shopping and eating, and I don't know what my face looked like. Probably was a hot mess. And I just was like, "Oh, are you guys hiring?" Because the girl kind of knew my face. I shop there often, and she gave me an application. I took forever to fill it out. It was totally unprofessional. Had I known then what I know now, I wouldn't have even bothered to go in. But I understand why I didn't get any call back from that situation. So even though I did understand it, it did discourage me quite a bit, and it kind of helped solidify the idea that getting to work at Mac is very, very hard to do. So in my mind, although it came up a couple of times throughout the next 3 years, that I wanted to work for Mac, I was very hard on myself and I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I could do it. So that is why when I finally decided to do it, I felt like I needed to do it the right way. I needed to work really, really hard. If this is something that I really want, failure was not an option. So I had to do everything that I could to get ready for this new position because I had claimed it and it was going to be mine. So from that moment, that is when I began to do the extensive research that I felt necessary to begin the process of trying to get hired at Mac. So this is the point where I would say you guys can start to take your mental notes or write down notes or whatever, because this is the information that is going to apply to you if you're trying to get hired at Mac. So before you even begin turning in your resume, there are some things that you need to know. And the very first thing is going to be, why do you want to work for Mac? And obviously, I can't give you an answer to that question, but answer from your heart, answer with your passion. And if it is something that you're passionate about, you really won't have to worry about the answer to that question, because when I did my research and I had my friends kind of help me with the process and answering the questions that I felt like they would ask in the interview, this question I always skipped over. Sometimes I did tell my friends what I would honestly say, but it didn't feel like I was answering it because this is something that I was horribly passionate about. So I never needed to rehearse this answer because all I planned to do in the interview was speak from my heart. Number two, and also very, very important, is that you need to know who founded Mac, when they founded it, and where they founded it. Mac was founded in 1986 by both Frank Toscan and Frank Angelo. It was founded in Toronto, Canada. Wow, so we are just going to act like it is not a completely different time of day. My battery went out on me, and then a whole bunch of other stuff happened. So, as we were, that is where Mac was founded. Feel free to go to maccosmetics.com. That's where I got the company history. You can Wikipedia Mac and all of that special information about the founders and everything like that. You really ought to know that type of information. There is a slight chance that you won't be asked any of that in your interview, but it's always really good to know because these are things that are very, very important to Mac, that their employees know all about the company. Number three, what year was Mac bought by the Estee Lauder Cosmetics family? The simple answer to that would be in 1996 or 1998. Either one of those are acceptable. However, 1996 is when Estee Lauder first bought They bought MAC partially in 1998. They completely bought the company 100%. So this is a really, 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 really big one. So number 4 is going to be what are MAC's charities, or they may ask you what are MAC's programs. This one is going to be MAC Viva Glam. With the Viva Glam, what's wrong with me? The first one is going to be the MAC Viva Glam program. With that program, 100% of the proceeds when you buy a Viva Glam lipstick or a Viva Glam lip glass, all that money goes to help people who have been affected or infected by the AIDS and HIV virus. So that's a really, really big thing for MAC, and feel free to research that some more. The second one is going to be the AIDS Fund. With this program, MAC contributes to different programs in the community. They give lots of money to help people, again, all people affected by AIDS and HIV. The third one is going to be Kids Helping Kids. With this program, it is again directed for those affected by AIDS and HIV. However, this one is specifically for children. The other program is going to be the Back to MAC. So with the Back to MAC program, the whole purpose of it is to erase your carbon footprint. So if you've ever bought anything from MAC that is recyclable, is pretty much everything except for pencils that you could sharpen. If you bring it back, it doesn't have to be empty. But basically, if you're done with the package that whatever your product came in, like the lip gloss tubes, the lipstick containers, eyeshadow, eyelashes, liners and mascaras and things like that, if you collect 6 of them and bring them in, you get a free lipstick at any counter. If you go to a MAC Pro store, you can get a free lipstick or an eyeshadow. You might even get a gloss. I'm not totally sure about that one, but that's pretty much how the program works. So you just bring in 6 empty containers, or they don't have to be empty, and MAC will give you a free product. The other thing is going to be the MAC Pro membership. So with this membership, it is kind of specifically for makeup artists, photographers, cosmetologists, people who would pretty much be involved with makeup or anything in that regard. So makeup, hair, photo shoots, fashion shows, things like that, and also students. MAC will give you a certain percentage off of all of their products, and also gives you access to the MAC Pro stores so that you can get things that might not even be out yet, or might not be out yet, things that might not be available to the general public. So that's kind of how that works. And with that one, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I do know you need to have they'll request of you certain things, like maybe a business card, a license or certificate if you have one. And I think it's normally just 2 forms of those types of things that they would ask for, and then you have to pay a yearly fee to be a member of the MAC Pro program. So those are pretty much the main things that you should know. Some other things that I wrote down that you might want to um, make yourself aware of is going to be MAC's Credo. You need to know MAC's motto. You need to know their mission statement. You need to know what the 5 pillars of MAC are, and those 5 things escape me right now, but I think they're like personality, social responsibility, individuality, community, and there's another one that I always forget, and it's like the main thing, but you need to know those things. So just Google them; they'll come right up. That would bring us to about late August, early September in my progress and everything like that. I spent a good 3 days getting my resume ready, and what I did was I made a separate resume specifically for MAC. Meaning, I had done all this research, found out what it is that MAC is looking for in a makeup artist, and I drew from whatever experience it is that I had, and I put it into my resume to make me like the ideal candidate. So I made sure that I focused on things like any retail experience that I had, customer service experience, of course my makeup experience, and I of course highlighted the fact that I went to school for aesthetics. Although that doesn't make me a shoe-in, it does show that here's a person who is specifically interested in this field, so much so that they went to school damn near for it. Got the resume and everything like that out of the way. So now we're at the point where I'm ready to go in to turn in the resume. So if that is where you are, if you feel like you've done all your research, you're at the point where you're about to turn in the resume, this is some stuff that I feel like will really help you. Before you go to turn in your resume, you need to make sure that you look like you work at MAC. The very first thing you need to know is that your face needs to be beat. It doesn't mean you need to go in there looking like you use every single eye color that you could on your eyes and the boldest lip and fucking, all types of contouring and stuff like that. You just want to make sure that you look like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing whether I do a simple look or I know what I'm doing. If you want to do a bizarre look, you just better do it right. Don't make this the day that you decide to try something you never tried before and then you go in there and scare the hell out of the manager and ruin your chances of getting hired. Yeah, just make sure your face is beat to perfection. Because that's going to be the first thing that they look at. They're going to look at your face. And if you work for MAC, you need to look like you know what you're doing with makeup. The second thing is you need to look like you work there in terms of your outfit. MAC is all black everything. And not just like, oh, I'm going to church in my all black outfit. No, you need to be dressed up. It needs to look trendy. Not so much like you're about to go out to the club or something like that. But you definitely need to be very fashionable. It would help for you to be current. Your accessories, so any jewelry that you wear should be all silver or all gold, and it should be minimal. MAC, the really great thing about MAC is that they allow you to be very, very expressive and show that you're an individual and whatever your own personal style is. But you have to keep in mind that you don't want to distract from whatever is going on your face. So if you got a big, you know, razzmatazz necklace on, somebody might ask you where you got it from. That's distracting from you telling them about a MAC product that they can buy, because MAC doesn't sell jewelry, so you really don't need to be wearing anything that's too bold or too distracting. But keeping in mind that you want to be trendy, you do need to wear jewelry so that it can complete that polished kind of look, so it can accessorize your outfit. So yeah, now that you look like you're ready to go in, you got your resume, you need to go into the MAC counter or the MAC store. You need to ask if you could speak to a manager. Introduce yourself. That's what I did. I walked in, I introduced myself, and I asked if I could speak to a hiring manager. The lady that I talked to at the first store, the first MAC store that I went to, she told me that the manager was on lunch and that I should come back in 15 minutes. I came back in 15 minutes. The manager was not there. Another employee told me to come back in 30 minutes. I came back in 30 minutes and she was there. I introduced myself yet again and I asked her if they were hiring at the moment. She said, no, we are not hiring, but not in the store, but we are always looking for freelance artists. So she asked if I had a resume, and then I asked if I could fill out an application, and she said she didn't have any in the store. So I left her my resume. I also briefly explained to her that I don't have a portfolio, but for this specific occasion, I did do a photo shoot that you guys might have already seen. I did a mini photo shoot with my best friend and used a couple of those shots just to show them that I am capable. And I pretty much put 4 of our best shots, 4 different looks, on an 8x10, so just like a collage of 4 pictures, and I showed them there was a wedding look, there was a regular look, and there was a sort of dramatic look. And she was semi-impressed, I believe. And then I briefly explained to her that I did have experience. I've got retail experience. I've got experience as a makeup artist. And then she told me to leave the resume, and then she would get back to me if anything were to become available for me or if they needed me. So you could imagine that feeling was bittersweet to me because I had done all this preparation. Um, I had done all of this preparation for the moment that I would go in there and turn in my resume, only for it to kind of be over. Now I'm at the point where I'm waiting. It felt a little bit weird, but nonetheless, I had a good feeling about it still, and so I just let that go. While I was in the mall, I did drop off an application. I dropped off a resume, I'm sorry, at Sephora because I felt like if for any reason MAC doesn't work out, then I still kind of want to do something that's related to makeup. So I did leave my resume with Sephora. When I got home that night, I filled out the application for employment at Sephora in the location that I was at, as well as 3 other ones in downtown Chicago. and I also applied to work at Bobbi Brown that same night. So a couple of days later, I actually called the MAC counter where I submitted my resume, and I didn't leave my name specifically, but I did want to see if they were in the process at all so that I would have an idea of what to expect. So I just called and said that I had recently left my resume, and basically she just told me that they were in the process of looking, and that they had a lot of resumes starting from like months ago. And she said because I did tell her I recently turned it in, she said it probably would be a while before they got around to it. So I never heard back from that store. I did get a little bit discouraged, but I didn't have time to react to it. So a couple of days after, no, actually that same day, I got a call from Sephora and they wanted me to come in for an interview. Went to the Sephora interview. It was not a great interview. I didn't feel so good about it because I felt, I don't want to go into too many specifics, but I just didn't feel really good about it because of some vibes that I was getting. And also, once they explained to me what would be likely to happen, I wasn't expecting that. I wanted to do makeup right away, and with Sephora, that isn't quite how it works. You kind of have to go through a training period where you're on like the cash register and stuff like that, and that totally did not interest me. So, and I didn't feel so bad about it. So after the interview, I was feeling a little bit bummed out about how that interview went. And I got home and I had an email from Bobbi Brown. So they had set up an interview for me, and I was really excited about that because Bobbi Brown is also under the Estee Lauder cosmetics family. So that meant to me that even if I never got the job at MAC, I would be kind of under the same company, and therefore I would have even more to work with in terms of trying to get hired at MAC. After that, my best friend and I decided that I should go to another location and drop off my resume. I did that. I was a little skeptical at first. For some reason, I just didn't feel like I should. And when I was going to drop off my resume, I'm just feeling like, whatever. It couldn't hurt to drop it off. I'm so grateful that I did. So, dropped it off, or not dropped it off. So I walked into the store. I saw the manager, explained to her who I am, wanted to know if they were hiring. She said the same thing that the last manager told me. And then she asked me, what do you know about Mac? At this point, I was like, what? Because it caught me off guard. But because I had done my research, I told her some stuff about the company. I told her about the charities. I told her about the charities and a couple of other things, and then she was impressed. I also did show her that same 8x10 with my recent photo shoot on it with Tyler, and she was very, very impressed. At that point, she forwarded my resume to, I think, like who's ever in charge of hiring in the Chicagoland area. So I was ecstatic. Some while later, I got an email with my official interview information, and they said it was to be a makeup interview and I should bring a model, and that's all that I needed to know. They told me to dress if I were already working at MAC, and obviously I already was going to dress that way anyways. So by that time, I had already heard back from Sephora. I didn't get the position, and gave it to somebody else. I didn't care because I had the opportunity that I wanted from the jump, so it didn't faze me too much. So I went to the interview. I'm not gonna lie, it was not my best work at all. It was like I was super, 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 super nervous. So nervous. We got in the room. One lady explained to us how everything was gonna go, that we were gonna have a certain amount of time, and then she introduced us to another lady. And this lady pretty much showed us where all the products that we were going to be using were located in the room. She showed us briefly how to clean them, told us we were going to be timed, and then she explained to us that in this situation, you're going to do whatever your model wants you to do for her makeup, because it would be the most ideal situation if you were actually working. So it would be kind of stupid for us to give you a specific look when that isn't an ideal look for an everyday scenario. So I got my model. She was a Caucasian woman, very, very fair skinned, didn't wear makeup at all, doesn't have time to do makeup. and it just so happened that she was going to an event that night, to a concert, and she said she wanted a bold lip. So I grabbed very, very few products. I put a powder on her face. I did a bold liner, which my liner was not perfect. I kept beating myself up about it because her eyes were shaking and I was nervous, and her liner was not, it was not on point to my standards, and I felt really bad about it. I gave her a berry kind of blush, and then I gave her a deep lip, a deep mulberry type of color. The lady came around after she called time for 30 minutes. She took some notes. I saw her taking notes or whatever. And throughout the whole process, she was just kind of walking around looking, not putting too much pressure on you, but it was obvious that she was there whenever she was looking at you. She did make it very easy. She told us that if you have a question about anything, just ask me. You know, it's not that much pressure. It's pretty much just trying to see where your makeup skills are and see how you communicate with the customer. So like I said, she called time. She came around to me and she asked me, if you had 5 more minutes, what would you change about this look? I told her I would try to get that liner a lot better because it was not on point, and that I would touch up on her lipstick because the girl also had, you know, sort of dry lips. But again, I was so nervous that I didn't think ahead of time to try to fix it. I really just was like, okay, you know, but I told her I would fix those things. So she gave us all 5 more minutes. I did try to fix the liner. In my honest opinion, it didn't make much of a difference, but I did fix her lips. The lips came out a whole lot better. So pretty much after that, she told us we were free to go, and if any areas were interested in us, they would give us a call. I'm like, what? I'm expecting to answer all these questions. I watched all these videos and everybody's situations. I was expecting to be quizzed. I was studying. I was cramming. Nothing. Nothing about my personality. Nothing about my experience. Just that makeup, and that was it. I felt a little iffy about it. I didn't know how everything was going to go. But they said they give us a week, and then they would let us know something one way or the other. So a couple of days later, actually, not even 4 days later, actually, is when I got the call. But I didn't know that that was what was going on because I was expecting it to be a number that I was familiar with. It was a different number, and I just so happened to call it back, and that's when I found out that I had been offered the position, and I was so happy. I got out of the car. Me and Cliff were like, we were outside making a whole lot of noise. I was jumping up and down, and I was screaming and stuff. And then T came over to the house and she jumped in my arms. And we were like, and we talked about it for like an hour. I had been doubting myself, but like I said, I claimed it from the early stage. When I decided I wanted to do it, I claimed it. But still, when it happened, it completely took my breath away. I was so excited, and I'm still so excited. Even now, at this point, when I'm official, I've got my pen and everything. I'm in the system. I'm waiting to work right now, but I am so excited. I am beyond excited. It's not even funny. Just how excited I am. So that is my long ass story on my makeup journey, as well as my experience and how I got hired at MAC. Long time dream of mine to be even making this video. It's surreal to me, and people don't really get it. You know why it's such a big deal to me, because this has been my dream job for a very long time, and I have been distracted for a very long time. So to be somewhere I actually wanted to be, like years ago, it's humbling. It's so humbling. So my advice to anybody out there, if you're trying to work at Mac, if you're trying to work anywhere, is to claim it, to be confident in yourself, be confident in your skill, work hard like you really, really want it, and go get it. There literally is no other option. I told myself that if I didn't get that position from at that particular moment, then I would take that experience and learn from it, and I would try again. Now, obviously, I'm not going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and failing and keep trying and being redundant with that specific thing. But somewhere along the lines, if I were to keep trying, I would have made myself better in the process. So I was going to learn from it either way. And either way, I ended up learning from it because now I've learned to have faith not only in God, but also be more confident in myself and stop doubting myself. I don't feel like I'm the best makeup artist there ever was or ever will be, but I know I have room for growth, and I know that I'm very talented, and it took me a long time to see that, and I see it now, and I'm very, very happy. So you guys stay tuned. I'm going to be making a lot more videos similar to these with much better camera quality, so don't worry. It won't always be like this, but I'm just starting out and I'm excited. But as I grow, you guys will be very, very along with me and informed, because I'm not stopping until I get where I want to get, until everybody knows who I am. So be encouraged. And I will talk to you guys in another video. Bye.